Over the years, our family's had a share of health problems.
So prescriptions are a part of our life.
Before we went to the big box store.
We both thought it would help us save. But with the long lines and impersonal service, filling prescriptions became a chore. That's when a friend recommended D&H.
Now Tristan knows our prescriptions. Brenda always helps us find the right vitamins. And after Dad's fall, Monica's been a real expert with all our home medical needs. All without the lines.
Trust and service.
That's our D&H.
Good morning and welcome to Radio Friends on Thursday, May the 28th. Good to have you with us. You know, we're just a little bit less than a month away from the official start of summer, even though it feels like summer right now. We're going to talk about summertime injuries, and we have Dr. Salman Ahmad with us from University Healthcare. Good to have you here, MU Healthcare.
Thank you.
And you want to talk about some of the more common summertime injuries that we incur this time of the year.
Exactly. So, of course, summertime is when we come out of hibernation, and we love being outside, we love being on the lake, and love going swimming, which is, you know, great to enjoy, but you have to take precautions. Unfortunately, when it comes to being on the water, certainly boating accidents are very severe. You know, we in the state, of course, have a very active boating, time down in the lake. But unfortunately, we see people that get injured. Of course, you know, collisions are the most common. So you got boat-on-boat collisions. People drown. People fall overboard. Of course, you take the necessary precautions. You're wearing life vests, having the proper training, and of course, never, you know, drink and boat. That's
right.
Very concerning.
What is the most common injury that you see in the summertime?
Probably the most, unfortunately, most common are motor vehicle crashes. We see injuries with children, unfortunately, as well. Children, you know, accidental injury, one of the most common causes of death for kids, certainly less than 10 or 12 years old.
Right.
So.
And broken bones.
Broken bones. Luckily, broken bones. Unfortunately, we do see our fair share of head injuries. We see that with any kind of accident, boating accidents, motorcycles, ATVs, car accidents, falls. Falls are very common.
Right. Or even playing softball. You could get hit in the head by a ball.
Absolutely.
If you do have a head injury, let's say if you fall and you fall backward and you hit your head hard and you're kind of dazed but you feel okay, should you go to the doctor and have that checked?
Absolutely. So that may mean either going to the emergency room or just having your primary care physician check you out. Because nowadays people say, well, I just got hit in the head and I kind of passed out for a second. I just had a concussion. Hopefully you have not had a major head bleed, but a concussion in and of itself is not as benign as we used to think. We know now that there are some chemical changes that have occurred in your head. And the most important thing is, if you've had that injury, is to stop playing and get out of the game. Unfortunately, we see professional athletes that get hit in the head, even football players with helmets, that have that kind of injury. They're dazed, they pass out, and they go right back into the game, and it's very dangerous.
That's not good. That's not good, right? What happens if you fall and you hit your head, and you say, "Oh, I got a little knot there, but I'm okay"? Are you really okay, or should you have that checked out?
You should have it checked out, and certainly it depends on the severity of the symptoms. Certainly,
if you have no symptoms at all, then let it go.
Well, I don't know if I would let it go. I would be concerned if you could sustain that injury during sports. I would come out of the game. That's our concern.
There's one other thing I want to ask you before we go, real quick.
Sure.
It's about snake bites.
Okay.
Copperheads. Okay. I remember when I was a Boy Scout, they always were taught that if you're bitten by a snake, a copperhead, a poisonous snake, that you should take a razor blade immediately and slash your skin above the bite and then put a tourniquet on. And when I told you that, you said, "Oh, no, don't do that."
Well, I'm always concerned about people cutting themselves to either bleed or extract the venom. And while that may work in certain austere environments, I would not recommend that. It would just increase the risk of infection.
Put a tourniquet on?
But I think more of a tourniquet, and try to get to a healthcare facility as soon as possible so that they can apply a proper tourniquet and give you an antivenom and an antidote.
But if you are bitten by a snake, a poisonous snake, put a tourniquet on between the snake bite and your heart.
Yes.
And make that tourniquet tight?
Yes, but we're always reluctant to recommend tourniquets in the field unless they're proper healthcare providers that are there, because a tourniquet that can be too tight for too long can cause long-term damage. But you want it above the bite, right, and at a point where you can actually occlude the vessel, which is up by your arm. But again, the most important thing is, I think if you get to a healthcare facility even without a tourniquet as fast as possible, that's probably the best recommendation.
For more information, you can call MU Healthcare. Dr. Sal, thank you so much for coming by.
Sure.
Pleasure having you here.
Thank you.
Now, I turn to Ronnie Gale Randall, who is here to tell us about No Kill Colombia. Welcome, Ronnie Gale Randall.
Thank you.
No Kill Colombia. Tell me about that.
Well, specifically a project of No Kill Colombia, which is the Spay Neuter Project, which is a low-cost, high-quality, high-volume spay neuter clinic that we've just opened in Colombia as of April. So we just finished our first month, and we've done more than 200 surgeries so far.
Really?
Yes.
That's fantastic, because when you think about dogs and cats that are running around, especially cats, how many offspring, I don't know if this is a fair question to ask you if you haven't,
try.
But how many offspring can one female cat produce in her lifetime?
Well, I'm not going to give you a lifetime figure, but what I will give you is this. A cat can actually have 3 litters per year. One female cat can have 3 litters per year, and you can have an average of 4 kittens per litter. And it's actually 4 to 6 per litter. So that can give you a basic idea.
That's about 12 kittens per year.
Yes, to one cat. And she can start as young as 4 months old.
And cats can live 20 years. 20 years. Probably not that long if they're out in the wild, but an indoor cat. But the thing to keep in mind is so many of these animals are being produced and nobody wants them.
That's exactly right.
It's so important to have your pet neutered or spayed.
Absolutely.
And keep your pet indoors. Keep the pet indoors.
Absolutely. But, you know, unfortunately, there is a myth that I think a lot of pet owners believe that I keep my cat indoors, I keep my dog indoors, and so therefore they won't get pregnant. But that's not the case.
No,
and I see that all the time.
If you don't have your cat spayed and she comes in heat,
she will find a way to get outside.
She's going to have a suitor, right?
Yes.
And she will find a way to get outside. So it's important to have your cat spayed and the male cat neutered, because he will find a way to go looking for his girlfriend.
Absolutely. You know, and not only that, but especially with the males, the fighting, the yowling, they will roam. And this is also with dogs as well. So a lot of behavioral issues can be addressed if you spay and neuter your pets.
So how can people have more information about No Kill Colombia and help out there?
Absolutely. Go to our website. That's the fastest way. It's SpayNeuterProjectMo.org.
And all the information will be on there.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You can even book an appointment online.
Yes, and you can make a donation too if you want
Absolutely,
to.
please.
All right. Ronnie Gale Randall, thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you.
Pleasure having you here, and tell Liz hi for me.
I will.
Okay?
Thanks.
Out of time for today. Friday, we've got Life Science Center and MU with MU. Our program directed by Travis McMillan, Reynolds Journalism Institute. Audio, Pat Akers, KBIA. Our floor director, Lowell Thomas. And our assistant producer and guest coordinator, Uncle James Mauser.